How did a 30-second bar video turn into divorce papers being handed to me in front of my whole family? Why did sitting on one guy's lap at a crowded bar mean my husband now has the house, the car, and most of the time with our son? What are you supposed to say when everyone sees the clip and the court order on the same day? Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Morven Hale, and I still do not think I did anything really wrong. People act like I burned the whole house down, but I only went out to a bar and had some fun. I am 31, not 80. I am a wife and a mother, yes, but I am also a woman who wants to feel alive. Is that a crime now? Elliot started acting old before he even turned 34. He came home from work tired, sat on the couch with his laptop, and talked about server updates and tickets. He asked if I could turn down the TV. He asked if I could stop leaving my shoes in the hallway. He asked if I could plan our meals better. It felt like I lived with a boss, not a husband. On that Friday, I just wanted a girls' night. Nadia sent a message in our group chat and said we should hit the bar near the river. Rafa, her friend who sometimes works there, said he could get us free drinks. When I saw his name in the chat, I smiled a little. He was funny, easy, and he always said I did not look like a mum. That made me feel good. Elliot came home with Leo just as I was getting ready. I was in the bedroom, standing in front of the mirror in my black top and tight jeans. I put on red lipstick for the first time in months. He stood in the doorway with Leo on his hip and stared at my clothes. He asked where I was going dressed like that. I said it was just a girls' night. He asked who exactly would be there. I said he did not need a list, that he was being controlling. He asked if Rafa would be there. I asked why it mattered, and I told him he was acting jealous and insecure. He said he did not want to see anything online that made him feel disrespected. I laughed and said the only way it would look bad is if he decided it looked bad. I said he should trust me, or maybe grow up. That shut him up for a moment. He asked if I could drink less and come back early because Leo wakes up at 6. I said I deserved one night without being just mom, and he was free to stay home and be the boring one. He did not like that. His jaw got tight. He put Leo down and said we would talk later. I said we did not need to talk. I needed him to stop nagging me. At the bar, the music was loud and deep. Lights flashed red and blue across the dance floor. Nadia squealed when she saw me and said I looked amazing. She held up her phone and took a quick story of us spinning around. She said she was tagging me. I liked that. It felt nice to be the hot one in the video for once, not just the woman holding the diaper bag. Rafa came over from behind the bar and hugged me. He said he was happy I made it out, and joked that my husband had finally let me off the leash. I rolled my eyes and said my husband was at home, sulking like always. I said he thought sitting at a bar was dangerous. Rafa laughed and said Elliot did not know how lucky he was. I liked hearing that. A few drinks in, the music shifted to a song with a heavy beat. The dance floor was packed. Nadia kept filming small clips of everyone. She liked to post them with little text like Friday Chaos and We Outside. I posed and danced for her camera on purpose. Why not? If you look good, you can show it. At one point, all the chairs at our table were taken. Rafa sat down first, and I went to sit, but there was no space. He patted his lap and said I could sit there for a minute. I laughed and said that would make my husband crazy. Nadia said that was exactly why I should do it. I thought of Elliot's serious face at home, his long lectures, his talk about respect, and I felt this small, mean thrill in my chest. So I sat on Rafa's lap. At first I was just sitting. Then the song got louder, the bass stronger, and I started to move with the music. I could feel Rafa's hands light on my hips. It was not sex, it was dancing. My back was against his chest. Nadia screamed and lifted her phone higher. She said she needed this for her story. I said she better tag me and add a good song. I did a slow grind to the beat, more for the camera than for Rafa. People cheered around us. I threw my head back and laughed. In my mind, it was just a joke, a little show, nothing that would matter the next day. I told myself Elliot would never see it anyway, and if he did, he should know I was just playing. It is not my fault if he cannot handle a joke. Nadia posted the clip right away. She held out her phone so I could see it. In the short video, you could see my body moving on Rafa's lap, his hands on my hips, my smile. You could see the way I turned my head and said something into his ear. You could hear my laugh. Nadia added some text. Morvern still got it, with fire emojis. She tagged me and Rafa both. I hit like. I did not even think. Later, I sent Elliot a very different photo. It was just me and Nadia, close to the camera, smiling with our drinks. No lap, no Rafa. I wrote that I hoped Leo had gone to bed okay. He replied that Leo was asleep and asked when I would be home. I said not late. He reminded me of what he said about things that look bad. I replied with an eye roll emoji and said he needed to relax. When I got home, he was already asleep, or at least I thought so. The lights were off in the living room. Leo's door was shut. I washed my face, took off the lipstick, and slid into bed beside him. He did not move. I decided he was sulking and not in the mood to talk. Fine. I was tired anyway. I did not know that while I was in the shower, he had opened Instagram. I did not know he had watched the loop of me grinding on Rafa's lap over and over in the dark. I did not see him sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, face blank, his overnight bag already on the floor. I woke up once in the night when the door latch clicked. I heard soft steps in the hallway and the sound of the front door opening and closing. I told myself it was nothing, maybe the wind, maybe a dream. I rolled over onto his side of the bed and went back to sleep. In the morning, the bed was cold next to me. At first, I thought Elliot had just gone to make coffee or check on Leo, but the apartment was too quiet. No kettle, no cartoons, no soft talking from Leo's room. It felt like a hotel room after checkout. I called his name and there was no answer. I got up and walked through the apartment. Leo's door was open, his bed empty. The little blue dinosaur blanket was gone. The overnight bag Elliot kept for business trips was also gone from the closet. His work laptop was not on the living room table. Only his old slippers were left by the couch, like he had forgotten them in a hurry. My heart started beating fast, but not in a sad way at first. More in an annoyed way. He had taken Leo without even waking me. He had just gone. He knew I had been out late. He knew maybe I was hungover. And he still chose that morning to make some big dramatic move. It felt like punishment. I picked up my phone and saw a string of notifications. Nadia had tagged me in the video again, and there were reactions from people I barely talked to. Fire emojis, laughing faces, someone saying, "Girl, your man is shaking." I rolled my eyes. People love drama. It was just a stupid 30-second clip. It did not define our marriage. I opened my messages to Elliot. He had not left anything new. No note on the table, no text saying where he was going, nothing. I wrote and asked where he was and why Leo was not at home. He replied 10 minutes later and said Leo was with him at his mum's place, and they had left early so Leo would not wake me. He said he thought I needed sleep. That sounded fake sweet to me. If he cared, he would have stayed. I asked if he was planning to come back that day. He said he needed some space to think. I hated that word, space. It means men want to make you stress while they play the victim. I told him he was overreacting. I told him it was just a dance, and that people sit on other people's laps all the time in clubs. He wrote that he did not want to argue over text, so I went to my family group chat instead. I sent a message to my mom and my sister, saying Elliot had left in the middle of the night and taken Leo. I said he did not even wake me up or ask. I said he was punishing me for going out once. Teresa replied right away and asked if he was serious. I told her yes, that he was being controlling again, like when he complains about my clothes or my friends. Jenna asked why he left. I said it was because of a silly video Nadia posted at the bar. I said I had just sat wrong on a bar stool, and people were making a big deal out of nothing. I did not mention the part where I was moving on Rafa's lap with his hands on my hips. That detail was not important. It was about how Elliot felt, not what actually happened. That is how it works in marriages. Feelings are messy and weak. My mum got mad in the chat on my behalf. She wrote that real men do not run away from their families over internet nonsense. She said Elliot always had a stick up his back. She said I should tell him if he wanted space, then he could stay gone. That made me feel stronger, like I had a team. While we were still talking, Nadia sent me a voice note and a screenshot. Someone had sent her the video from her story and asked if my husband was okay with it. She thought it was funny. She said people needed to relax and that I looked amazing. I told her Elliot had left and taken Leo. She wrote that he was being crazy and that if he could not handle a hot wife, that was his problem. Then I saw that Jenna had reposted the clip to her own story. She added some little text on top. "Tell me your husband is jealous without telling me." I laughed, but a small part of me felt nervous. It made things more public than I'd planned. But if Elliot wanted to act like a drama king, maybe he needed a little pressure. I put on some coffee and tried to call him. He did not pick up. I called again. Nothing. So I sent another message, saying that running to his mom's house did not make him a hero. It made him childish. I wrote that he was hurting Leo by making this big thing, and that if Leo asked where his mom was, what would Elliot say? He replied that Leo had woken up happy and eaten breakfast, that they were watching cartoons. He said Leo had not asked about me yet. That sentence hit me harder than I wanted to admit. By late morning, I decided to go to Maggie's house. I did not ask Elliot if it was okay. It was my child too. I dressed quickly, did a light makeup look to hide my tired eyes, and took a bus across town. On the way, I checked Instagram again and saw more comments on the video. Some were playful, some not so kind. One person wrote that if their wife did that, they would be gone too. I told myself they were just insecure strangers. Maggie opened the door when I rang. She looked surprised but not exactly happy. I stepped inside and saw Leo on the couch with a juice box, watching cartoons, and Elliot sitting next to him. Elliot's shoulders were stiff. He said hello in a flat voice. Maggie asked if I wanted tea. I could tell she was trying to keep things polite. I started talking before anyone could say anything serious. I said this was all a misunderstanding. I said Elliot had overreacted by leaving in the night. I said he made me look like a bad mother when he took Leo without telling me. I said all this in front of Leo on purpose, because I wanted Elliot to feel some shame. Elliot asked if we could talk alone. I said we could talk right there. I said I had nothing to hide. Maggie told Leo to go to his room to play. She led him away. Elliot looked tired. He asked if I had watched the video myself. I said yes, and I still thought it was just dancing. He said my body was on another man in a way that was not okay for him. I said that was his issue. I said if he cannot handle a joke, maybe he was not ready for a real marriage. He did not shout. That was almost worse. He just said his trust was hurting. I told him trust goes both ways, and he never trusted me to have male friends or to go out. I reminded him of every time he checked my stories, every time he asked who I was with. I flipped it so fast that even I believed it for a second. I said he was trying to control my body and my image, and I would not live like that. When I saw Maggie's face in the doorway, I knew she was taking his side. Her mouth was tight. She asked if I understood how the video might look to other people, to Leo when he is older. I said kids do not need to see everything, and social media is normal now. I said the only real problem was that people were gossiping, and that was because Elliot walked out instead of handling it privately. I told them if he had stayed, no one would care. Elliot said he needed time and that he was not sure he could come back yet. That annoyed me. I said if he stayed at his mom's, everyone would think he was abusing me or cheating, and that would be his fault. I said I would have to explain why my husband left me over a dance. I told him people would see him as weak, and that once respect is gone, it never comes back. He did not bite. He just nodded slowly. He said we would figure out a plan for Leo, that he wanted consistency for our son. He said I could see Leo the next day, and we could arrange a schedule. It sounded like a custody talk, which felt dramatic to me. I told him not to play court games. I said he should just come home and stop making a show. On my way out, I noticed a paper stuck with a magnet on Maggie's fridge. It had Elliot's handwriting, a little list of times and notes. Friday night, Saturday morning, locations. I asked what it was. He said it was just for his own record, because his head was a mess. I laughed and said he was acting like a lawyer. He just looked at me and said he needed to be clear on events. On the bus home, I opened Jenna's story again and watched myself on Rafa's lap. The room around me swayed with the movement. I thought about Elliot's flat voice, Maggie's eyes, Leo's small fingers on the juice box. Then I shut the app and muttered to myself that everyone was being dramatic. It was just a video. On Monday, I went back to work at the dental clinic like nothing was wrong. I told myself that if I kept my routine, this whole thing would calm down. People only care about drama for a few days. Then they move on. That is what I believed. The waiting room smelled like mint and cleaning spray. I sat at the reception desk, pulled up the day's appointments, and tried to ignore the way my hands shook a little on the keyboard. Nadia walked in 10 minutes late, as always, hair in a messy bun, phone in her hand. She smiled in that guilty way and asked if I was okay. I said of course I was okay. I said my husband was being ridiculous, but I was used to that. She said the video really blew up. She showed me her screen. The story had more views than usual, and she had saved it to her highlights for a few hours before taking it down. People had messaged her, asking if I was single now. Some had sent laughing faces. Some had said she was messy for posting it. Nadia shrugged and said people were boring. I told her it was fine. I said we were giving them something to talk about. I said Elliot would come around once he was done sulking. I added that he had always been sensitive about my social life, even before we had Leo. I made it sound like a long-term problem, not something I caused. In the break room, 2 of the dental assistants were whispering when I walked in. They shut up fast and smiled too big. One of them said she had seen a funny video on Instagram. I knew which one. I rolled my eyes and said the whole thing was a joke, and my husband had freaked out. I said he had actually left the apartment in the middle of the night. They opened their eyes wide. I could see them choosing sides. When people choose sides, you have to feed them a story. So I told them Elliot had always had control issues. I said he checked my stories, my clothes, my friends. I said he made me feel small and boring. I said the video was just me dancing and being myself, and he acted like I committed a crime. I said sitting on someone's lap for 30 seconds was not cheating unless you wanted it to be. One of them asked if I would be okay if he did that with another woman. I said it was different because men and women are not the same. I said women get hit on all the time and have to learn to deal with it. I said he never gets that kind of attention, so he does not understand. I could tell she did not fully buy it, but she nodded anyway. Later, in a quiet moment at the front desk, I checked my phone. There were no new messages from Elliot, just a short one from earlier, about drop-off times for Leo. He wrote that he could bring Leo by at 4 and pick him up at 7 the next day. It was so structured, like a schedule, not like normal family life. I did not like how clean it looked. I started a new chat with him and wrote that I missed him. I said I was sorry if the video hurt his feelings. I did not say I was sorry for what I did, only for how it made him feel. There is a difference. I said I hoped he would come home soon, because people were asking questions, and it was embarrassing. He replied hours later with one line, "We can talk about everything in person later." It sounded cold. like an appointment. That afternoon, Nadia suggested we go for a quick coffee after work. She said I needed to vent. On the walk, she asked if I thought Elliot was serious about staying at his mom's. I said he was bluffing and probably wanted me to beg. I said I would not give him that satisfaction. I said if he wanted to act like a single guy, fine, I could act like a single girl. She laughed and said I should post a thirst trap. I told her I might. On the way back, we passed the office building where Elliot works. It was still early, so I thought maybe he would be in. A stupid idea came into my head. I could just drop by and surprise him. If his co-workers saw me being cute and nice, they would think he was crazy for staying away. Image matters. It always does. I told Nadia I would catch up with her later and went into the building. The lobby was big and clean, with glass walls and a security desk. I told the guard I was just going up to see my husband. He waved me through. I rode the elevator up, checking my reflection in the metal. My lipstick was still good. My hair looked fine. The open-plan office was quiet, full of screens and soft keyboard sounds. Elliot was at his desk, headphones on, eyes on his monitor. When he saw me, he took the headphones off and straightened up. He looked smaller somehow, or maybe just tired. His team members glanced over, then looked away. I walked over with a smile and a coffee cup I had grabbed downstairs. I said I had brought him a treat. He thanked me, but his voice was flat. On his screen, there was a spreadsheet open with dates and short notes in each row. I saw the words Friday, bar, and left home. There were timestamps too. It looked very precise. I joked that he was acting like a detective. He said he just needed to keep things straight in his mind. I leaned on his desk and said he needed to relax. This was not a crime scene. He closed the spreadsheet with one quick move and locked his screen. That annoyed me. I said he did not have to hide things from his own wife. He said it was work stuff and he could not show me. I knew that was not true. I asked if we were okay. I said I missed our routine, our evenings on the couch, our silly shows. I said Leo needed his dad at home. He said Leo would always have him, but he was not sure about this yet. He did not say marriage. That scared me a little, so I turned it into anger. I told him he was being dramatic in front of his co-workers and making me look desperate. I said if he had a problem, he should have talked to me instead of running away. I said I felt abandoned and humiliated, and that was worse than anything I did. I watched his face carefully. He did not flinch. He stood up and asked if we could talk later. Somewhere private. Maybe after Leo's bedtime. I said we could talk anywhere, because I had nothing to hide. I said he was the one acting sneaky, writing lists and closing screens when I walked over. I asked if he was already talking to someone about us, like some counselor or lawyer. The word lawyer sounded harsh in my own ears, but I wanted to see his reaction. He did not answer that question. He only said again that he wanted to talk later. His phone buzzed on the desk. The screen lit up with unknown number. He picked it up, glanced at me, then declined the call. He put the phone face down. I asked who it was. He said it was nothing important. I left his office feeling half angry, half unsure. On the train home, I replayed the visit in my head. Him closing the spreadsheet, the neat rows of dates, the unknown number. The way he watched me like he was studying me, not just listening. It made me feel like he was building a case, like in a show, and I was the one on the screen. I told myself that was stupid. He was my husband, not some stranger. He would not turn our life into a file. Still, later that night, when we argued on the phone, I heard a strange soft beep right after I raised my voice and said he had pushed me into the whole thing by making me feel ugly. It sounded like an app stopping a recording. When I asked what it was, he said there was some issue with his battery. I hung up, sat on the edge of the bed, and scrolled back to the video of me on Rafa's lap. I watched myself move, watched Rafa's hands, watched my own smile. For a moment, my stomach twisted. Then I pushed that feeling down and told myself again that it was just dancing, and that Elliot was turning it into something worse than it was. The kids' party was supposed to fix everything. At least, that is what I told myself when I dressed Leo in his little dinosaur shirt and packed his backpack with snacks and wipes. It was for one of his daycare friends, at a family restaurant with a play area. There would be balloons, cake, and plenty of other parents. I thought that if people saw us together, they would assume things were fine. Once people think something, it is hard to change it. Teresa came over before we left because she said I should not have to show up alone. She looked me up and down and said I looked too good for a woman whose husband ran away. I laughed. She asked if Elliot was coming. I said yes. He had said he would be there for Leo. She rolled her eyes and said he better not start any drama. I told her not to worry. Elliot never started drama in public. He just made me look bad in private. The restaurant was loud and bright, full of kids screaming and parents talking too loudly over them. There were plastic slides and a ball pit in the corner. It smelled like fries and ketchup. I held Leo's hand as we walked in. He spotted his friend and ran off. I saw Elliot near the back, standing by a long table with little party bags on it. He was talking to Maggie and Chloe. He saw me and stiffened a little. He said hello in that flat way again. Maggie smiled politely and kissed Leo's head, but her eyes were cool when she looked at me. Chloe gave me one of those tight, professional smiles she uses at work, not the warm ones from before. I acted like I did not notice. I said this was nice, that it was good for Leo to see both his parents in the same place. As more people arrived, I could feel their eyes on us. Some of the daycare moms followed me on Instagram. They would have seen the video, the posts, the hints. People do not say everything they think, but you can feel it. They all said hi, but their glances slid to Elliot, then back to me. I decided to control the story before someone else did. So when we were all sitting at the table, waiting for the food, I laughed loud and said this party was great, and that I hoped the birthday boy's parents never had to deal with jealous husband drama like I did. A few people chuckled nervously. I went on. I said Elliot had literally moved out because I danced on a friend at a bar. I made it sound silly and harmless. Elliot looked straight ahead, expression blank. I said he was still mad because his wife was too hot for his comfort level, and I nudged his arm. A couple of people laughed because they did not know what else to do. I could see Chloe frown. Maggie looked down at her napkin. I told myself they were just embarrassed for him, not because I was wrong. When the kids were singing Happy Birthday and the parents were filming, I made sure to stand next to Elliot. I leaned in like we were a normal couple. I held Leo in front of us, his hands clapping. I asked one of the moms to take a photo of the three of us on my phone. I wanted to post it later, to show everyone that we were still a family. Elliot smiled, but only for Leo. I could feel his body not leaning into mine at all. After the cake, while the kids ran wild in the play area, the adults sat back with coffee. Teresa arrived late, as usual, and scanned the room like it was a stage. She walked straight to us and loudly asked Elliot if he was done with his little tantrum yet. People at the nearby tables went quiet. I felt a sharp joy. I had not told her to say it that way, but I did not stop her. Elliot said he did not want to talk about it here. Teresa said maybe he should have thought about that before leaving his wife and child in the night. She said everyone was worried about me. I blinked like a victim. Elliot's jaw clenched. Maggie told Teresa this was not the place. Teresa said she was just telling the truth. Chloe took a deep breath and told my mother she was not helping. For a second, it was like there were two lines in the room, my family on one side, his on the other. I jumped in before anyone could walk away. I said it was fine, that Elliot was just sensitive about social media. I said he could not handle one Harmless video, and now we were all doing this dance. I said loud enough for the nearby tables to hear that if every couple broke up over a club video, nobody would stay married. A couple of moms glanced at each other. One dad coughed and looked down at his phone. Chloe leaned close and spoke low, but I could still feel the judgment. She said the video was not harmless, that it was hurtful and disrespectful. She said Leo would see it one day, and that would not be a joke to him. I snapped back. I said people in her line of work always like to make everything into trauma. I said kids are fine if their parents love them, and Elliot was the one making things unstable by leaving. Chloe's eyes hardened. She sat back and said no more. Leo came running over, cheeks red, hair messy. He asked if Daddy was coming home with us after the party. I froze for a second. Elliot answered before I could. He said Daddy would take Leo to Grandma's tonight, and Mommy would see him tomorrow. Leo's face fell. He looked at me, confused. I immediately said Daddy was just confused, and that we would all be together again soon. I shot Elliot a hard look. Later, when we started getting ready to go, I tried one more public move. I picked up my phone and asked another mom to film a quick video of us saying happy birthday to the birthday boy. I stood beside Elliot, put my arm through his, and smiled wide. In the video, I thanked everyone for inviting us and joked that even separated people can show up for cake. I thought it was clever, light. Elliot gently pulled his arm free the moment the camera dropped. As we walked out to the parking lot, it was already getting dark. The air smelled like rain and exhaust. Teresa stomped ahead, muttering that he was ungrateful. Maggie walked beside Elliot, speaking quietly. Chloe held Leo's hand. I felt like I was drifting behind them all, outside my own life. By our cars, Elliot turned to me. He said he would take Leo now and drop him back at my place tomorrow afternoon. I said that was not enough time with my son. He said we needed structure. He said Leo was already confused, and that bouncing back and forth with no plan would only make it worse. I accused him of trying to steal Leo. He shook his head and said nobody was stealing anything. He said he just wanted things written down. Then he asked, very calmly, if I could get him copies of Leo's birth certificate and vaccination card, and the daycare contact sheet. He said it would help if he had everything in one place. His tone was polite, but it felt sharp. I said he already had that stuff somewhere. He said he wanted updated copies. I told him he was acting like he was preparing some kind of case. He said he was only trying to be organized. As he buckled Leo into his car seat, I saw him reach into the pocket of his jacket and pull out a small USB drive from the inside. It had a date written on it in his neat handwriting. He slipped it into his wallet. I asked what it was. He said it was nothing, just backups. He closed the car door and said he would message me later about times. I stood there in the parking lot, watching his taillights fade. Teresa ranted beside me about how he was probably talking to some lawyer and how I needed to get ahead of him. I half listened, half stared at the spot where his car had been, thinking about that USB with the date on it, and the way he talked about structure and copies like he was reading from a script. I told myself he was bluffing, but there was a cold, small feeling in my stomach that would not go away. The HR call came 2 days after the party. I was at the front desk printing reminder slips when my work phone rang. The small screen flashed, internal HR. My stomach dropped for a second, because that tone always feels like trouble. I picked up and tried to sound cheerful. Our HR woman, Paula, spoke in that careful voice she uses. She asked if I had a minute to talk about my benefits. I felt my face get hot. For a second I thought maybe she had seen the video and wanted to scold me about image or something. Instead, she said there had been a change request on my file. She explained slowly that Elliot had called the insurance provider and updated some things. He had removed the family plan from his job so that only Leo stayed on, and I did not. She said there were options if I wanted to start my own coverage through the clinic. It was all very formal. She was just doing her job, but it felt like a slap. I laughed and said it must be a mistake. I said my husband could not just decide that. Paula said any change like that needed documentation, and he had provided it. She did not say what, just that it was allowed. I felt like the floor tilted a little under my chair. I made some joke about him being dramatic and asked her to email me the forms. When I hung up, Nadia came into reception and saw my face. She asked what was wrong. I said Elliot had messed with the insurance. Nadia made a shocked noise and said that was low. She said I should call him and scream. I said I would talk to him later. Inside, I felt this cold mix of fear and anger. This was not just sulking. This was structure. All afternoon, I could not stop thinking about it. Every patient felt like they were taking pieces of my attention. Between calls, I checked our joint banking app. The numbers were still the same, but I noticed a small grey note on the side of the account details. Co-owners listed, contact email updated to his personal one. I did not know when that had changed. It made me decide something. I told myself I would fix this before it went any further. I would be sweet. I would be reasonable. I would remind him what he could lose. Men are not as strong as they act. They are scared of being alone. He just needed to remember how good he had it. So I texted him and said, I wanted to have a nice dinner at the apartment that evening, just the two of us, after Leo went to sleep. I said we did not have to solve everything, just talk. I added that I would make his favorite pasta, and we could watch something together, like before. He took an hour to answer. Then he wrote that he could come by at 7 and stay for a bit, but he would take Leo back to Maggie's for the night afterward. I did not argue with that. I just said okay and sent a heart emoji. I went to the supermarket after work and bought the good pasta, the fancy sauce, a cheap bottle of wine. I chose a dress that looked casual but still showed my waist. While I cooked, I took a photo of the table with the candles and posted it on my story with the caption, "Fighting for us." I wanted people to see I was trying. I wanted them to say I was a good wife doing her best, and that if it did not work, it was on him. Elliot arrived right on time. He came in with Leo, helped him take off his shoes, and asked how my day had been. His tone was polite and distant, like we were co-workers, not spouses. Leo ran into the living room to play. I told Elliot about the pasta and the wine. He nodded and said thank you. We sat at the table, and I talked first. I said I knew things had been tense. I said I was sorry if the video had hurt him. I put the word if in there on purpose. I said it was never my intention to make him feel bad. I said I had only wanted one fun night where I could forget about diapers and bills and routines. I tried to look soft, tired, human. He listened, hands in his lap. He ate slowly, like he was at a work lunch. When I finished my little speech, he said he believed I had not planned to hurt him. He said intention was not the only thing that mattered. He said there was impact too. I told him impact was his choice. He could have chosen to see it as a joke. He looked at me for a long moment and said that sitting on another man's lap and grinding was not a joke to him. I felt my face tighten. I said again that it was just dancing, that people do worse at clubs all the time and still go home to their spouses. I said the real problem was that he had no sense of humor about anything. I told him he had made me feel like a prisoner for years with all his comments about my clothes and friends. I said the video was the first time in a long time I had felt seen. That word sounded dramatic, but I used it anyway. He said he was sorry I felt that way. He said he wished I had talked to him instead of going to a stranger's lap for comfort. I snapped that Rafa was not a stranger, that he was a friend. Elliot did not argue. He just said that what he saw in that video and in my post afterward did not look like respect. He said respect was the base of everything. I changed tactics. I reached across the table and put my hand on his. I said we had built a life together. I said we had Leo. I asked if he really wanted to throw that away over something that could have been handled with one argument and a promise. I said I could delete the video, that Nadia already took it off her highlights. I said we could move past it if he would just come home and stop making everything so official. He pulled his hand back slowly. He said this was not just about the video. He said it was about the way I laughed at him in front of people, the posts calling him controlling, the way I made his pain into a joke for strangers. He said those things had weight. I told him he was being dramatic again. I said social media was not real life. I said he cared more about his image than about his wife. He shook his head. He said he cared about his sanity and about Leo's stability. Then he told me, very calmly, that he had started some changes. He said I would probably notice insurance updates and some separate accounts. He said he had only taken what was fair, what we had agreed in the past if we ever needed separate savings. I said I had never agreed to anything. He reminded me of a talk we had when Leo was born, about each of us keeping some money in our own names. I had forgotten, or maybe I had chosen to. I tried to make him feel guilty. I said he was leaving me without support, that he was using money to punish me. I said he was abandoning me and Leo. He said Leo was not being abandoned. He said he planned to be there for his son in every way. Then he said something that made my skin prickle. He said he was not punishing me. He was protecting himself. When we finished eating, he rinsed his plate at the sink like a guest. Leo came in, rubbing his eyes. Elliot picked him up and said it was time to go. I said Leo could sleep here tonight. Elliot said we had already agreed he would stay with him at Maggie's that night. I said we had not agreed to anything. He repeated the times he had sent in text. It sounded like he was reading from notes in his head. At the door, I told him again that we did not need courts or paperwork or anything. I said adults should fix things in their own home. He looked around the kitchen slowly. Then he said he would handle this properly, and that the next time we talked about our relationship, it would not be in this kitchen. After they left, the apartment felt huge and empty. I sat at the table and opened the banking app again. A new transaction was there now, dated that afternoon. Half of our joint savings had been moved to an account in his name. The note on it read, "Per prior agreement, pending." I stared at those words until my eyes blurred. As I sat there, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown local number. At the same time, there was a firm knock at the door. I watched the screen light up and saw my own reflection in it, holding still, breath caught in my chest, choosing not to move. The envelope found me at Jenna's baby shower. I walked into the community hall, holding a gift bag and a fake smile. Balloons, pastel banners, a table of cupcakes. Jenna hugged me carefully around her belly and asked if things with Elliot were any better. I said we were working through it. I said people had blown one silly video way out of proportion. I could feel Teresa's glare at Elliot from across the room before I even saw him. He was standing near the snack table with Maggie and Chloe, suit jacket on, Leo in a little button-up shirt. He nodded at me, nothing more. I hated how calm he looked. I told myself he had dressed up to impress me, to show he still cared. I told some of Jenna's friends we were just in a rough patch, and that people love drama. Halfway through the games, a man in a suit walked in, checked a paper, and came straight to me. He said my full name, clear and loud. I said yes. He handed me a thick envelope and said I had been served. Inside, divorce petition, temporary orders, primary school nights with Elliot, alternate weekends for me, social media restrictions, exhibits listed, the bar video, my posts, my jokes, my messages. I looked up and everyone was watching. Elliot sat down with Leo on his lap and didn't say a single word.